Hello and welcome to this session, The Law of Success. He can who thinks he can. God intended every individual to succeed. It is God's purpose that man should become great. It is God's will that man should not only use, but enjoy every good in the universe. The law of God denies us nothing. Man is born to be rich. The powers inherent in him are inexhaustible. Each normal person is endowed with a complete set of faculties, which, if properly developed and scientifically applied, will ensure success, ever-growing success. Man is made for progress. Every person contains within themselves the capacity for endless development. Advancement into all things is the law's great purpose. By learning to work with the law in promoting that aim, you can build yourself into a greater and a greater success. All of the processes of nature are successful. Nature knows no failures. She never plans anything but success. She aims at results in every form and manner. To succeed in the best and fullest sense of the term, we must, with nature as our model, copy her methods. In her principles and laws, we shall discover all of the secrets of success. Infinite resources are at your disposal. There are no limits to your possibilities. You can focus and individualize the elements, the forces, and principles of the whole world. You can develop a wonderful intelligence. Thus, all of life's questions may be answered, all of nature's secrets discovered, all human problems solved. Nothing is impossible. Higher faculties, remarkable talents, superior insight, and greater power are dormant in all. And by special psychological methods, these exceptional elements can be developed to an extraordinary degree for actual and practical use. Every mind can develop greatness. It's simply a matter of knowing how. True self-help, self-discovery, self-knowledge, and the proper instructions in applying one's faculties and using one's forces will advance any person. Practice will ensure efficiency. Use will bring forth results. Success, therefore, is within the reach of every aspiring person. Now, Hollywell asks the question, do you wish to succeed? And he said, you can. You possess all of the essentials within yourself. All you need is to gain a right understanding of the principles and laws upon which success is based, and then to apply the right methods of operating these laws until success is earned. Do you know, Mary, those lines are just about as motivating as anything I have ever read. I read them over and over and over again. It's such wonderful information. I mean, it really stirs something inside of me.
I could feel the energy coming from you as you read that. And what I know is that you not only know this for yourself, but you know it for every person you come in contact with, Bob Proctor. So Hollywell goes on here, and he says, the law of success is as definite as the law of any science. The exact use of this law will produce results every time, and it is the results that count. And as results may be multiplied indefinitely by a persistent application of the law, there is no ending to the success you can enjoy. So one success built upon another, built upon another. Great things are no less possible than small things. And it is the great things that will follow whoever uses this law with faith and understanding. So whatever your present state or condition, there is a better and a larger future in store for you, but you and I must prepare ourselves for it. We cannot rise into the better and greater things unless we do something about our understanding and our application. Study, planning, and effort are all necessary. The young and the old alike are entitled to advance. But to be true to ourselves and to the law which governs us, we simply must advance. For advancement is the law of life, and advancement is success. It is the law's intention, life's intention, that you and I should move forward. We can stand still, we can go backward, we can retard our normal progress for a while, And Hollowell says perhaps even as long as a lifetime. But in the end, we each will be compelled to move forward, especially in the direction of our own soul's growth. Nature brooks no interferences with her purposes. This is often the reason why prods and problems of adversity come when we fail to move forward. I remember hearing once that the mother eagle, when it's time for her babies to fly out of the nest, if they're not leaving, she pulls all the soft downiness that's in that nest, protecting their tiny bodies, and she just makes it as prickly and difficult a place to be as possible, and those baby eagles fly. So are you and I meant to.
These next words are so encouraging. You can achieve your ambition. Aim high and build well. The beautiful part about this, I was thinking, Mary, as you were sharing those lines, that spirit doesn't even relate to big or small. That's in our mind. It doesn't take any more energy to go after the big win than it does after the small. Why do we so grudgingly treat ourselves to the big win? Why do we reluctantly hold back? What you imagine to yourself as success can be reached. The law never blunders. What she idealizes, she has the power to actualize. What she images in your mind, she has the power to produce materially. She ever seeks to build you up in your power and in success. That is her plan for you. The faculties possessed by all great and successful individuals are the same human faculties that you possess. They gain some understanding of the right kind, and then they applied their faculties in the best way they knew for advancement, and so earned success. Some will ask, but in what does true success consist? Almost every other person will hold a different view as to what constitutes real success. To avoid confusion of ideas, let us define our meaning of the term. Most people consider success as being a high state of world prosperity. Others as the realization of personal hopes or fulfillment of heart's desires. Still others as the achievement of their ambitions or the performance of great deeds. Real success, however, is something more than this. We do not define it in terms of money, position, fame, or wealth, although it may include all these. True, genuine success of the largest kind lies in the results obtained, harvest reaped and distributed, so that our fellow beings at large are benefited and the world enriched. Yet, for the purpose of our lesson, the term success will be interpreted in a more individual sense as meaning personal advancement and increase and the favorable termination of anything attempted. I believe Earl Nightingale had the very best definition of success that I have ever read. He arrived at it in 1951. He left this planet in 1989 and never changed a word. I got into the idea in 1961, and to date I have never changed a word. He said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. In other words, the idea is worthy of you because you're trading your life for it, and it's an ideal. It's not just an idea. James Allen said an ideal is an idea that you've fallen in love with. I see love as resonance. It's when you're in perfect harmony. When two people are in love, they're in perfect harmony. When you're in love with an idea, you're intellectually involved in the idea, you're emotionally involved in the idea, and it's embedded in every cell of your being. You're totally in tune with it. Now, being totally in tune with an idea does not mean that the idea has manifest in form, but it does mean that you're going to progressively move toward it. And in doing that, it is only natural that you're going to fail in many attempts because you don't know how to get there. You only know you will get there. And so people fail, but that doesn't make them a failure. People are only failures when they stop trying. And I think this is a very important part of success, and it's a part most people misunderstand. If the failure is big enough, the opportunity is huge. See, everything is equal and opposite. If it's only a little failure, when you work your way around to the other side of it, it's only a little win. If it's a fairly big failure when you work your way around to the other side of it, it's a fairly big win. But if the failure is huge, when you mentally work your way around to the other side of it, the opportunity is equally as big. And Mary, I believe this is very important that we understand this in this search for real success that we're talking about here by working with the law.
Well, I would just say to those of us that are listening right now, some of you will be joining me in saying, thank you, God, that I had such a big failure, because the opportunity in that is inherent. And I get that when you say that it is the proper holding of what looks like a failure that actually gives us part of what's required so that we can work our way around it. You said when we work our way around it mentally. It's not easy to say thank you when we're in the midst of what we feel is a failure. We thought we were doing something, and then the results are not what we had hoped. Nevertheless, falling in love with an ideal, falling in love with that ideal, if we stay true to that love for the ideal, ideas will start to percolate. We will not stay down. We will find a way to re-energize, refocus, and then recommit to the ideal. And I absolutely have seen and know how the universe responds when we are in harmony with our love for an ideal. I've also experienced in my own life both great success and great failure, and great success and failure, and back and forth. And I came to realize, as others have said, that there is no real failure. It's feedback. Now, I really love how you distinguish the difference between failure and failing. I've never heard that before, and that's helpful, that it's natural that we would fail as we're learning. We send a spaceship to the moon, 98% of the time it said that spaceship is off track, but it's always self-correcting. It's self-correcting, and that's really what we would call our failure or failings, is the feedback from the universe. It's time to self-correct. We could notice little failures and large failures, but they're self-correcting feedback from our universe that actually is guiding us in unerring accuracy to that which we have said or felt is our ideal.
In fact, Price Pritchett says that a rocket fails its way to the moon.
Really?
And it really does. Well, it is, like you say, off course 90-some% of the time. But it keeps correct. And, of course, that's what we have to do. Correct. If we knew everything, there would be no failures. But we don't know everything. Mm-hmm. We just know a little bit. And what we're looking for is more.
I was watching one of my grandchildren learn to walk, and I'd noticed that he'd been watching his older brother and sister walk around on their hind legs. He wanted to get on his hind legs too, and pulls himself up, and there's that moment where he's hanging on to what he's known, and then he lets go, and there's a couple of tenuous, uneven steps, and he falls down. And repeat with the falling down, getting up. I never once saw that little boy look up and go, "That's it. I'm just not meant to be a walker." There was just no doubt that even though the falling was happening, that he would get up and eventually he would walk. But I think what happens for those of us that are in our adult bodies, we fall down in love, or we fall down in money, or we fall down in some dream, and then we go, I guess that's it. I'm just not meant to have the success that I really yearn for. And that's complete illusion and delusion, that the universe itself is seeking success through every one of us, fulfillment. So Hollowell goes on and he says that you and I are so constructed that we may utilize the elements of our life to build ourselves up into an ever-increasing power, betterment, and success. We also are subtly related to everything outside of ourselves so that this purpose can be fulfilled. Such fulfillment, however, will depend on the actual use we make of our own mind and whether we choose to serve in ignorance or to govern with knowledge the forces of life. Success in bringing oneself and one's actions to a standard higher than the ordinary human standard. Most of the failures and defeats in life are due to our own blindness. But when the heart is right, the head thinks right, and all our acts are judged by our inner motives, not by our outer accomplishments. Out of the heart are the issues of life, Hollowell says. So success depends upon adopting a true course, upholding what is just and right in thought and action, and adherence to this principle is most essential, because success is not a creature of circumstance, nor a game of chance, nor luck, for not until the golden rule is the basis of commercial activity can we be in harmony with this principle.
The fact that a person is honest and truthful and industrious does not ensure their success. More may be necessary than this. For if a person is timid, backward, or fearful, fear will act as a brake to retard his progress. If a person is an efficient engineer, yet has an inferiority complex, that complex will make him mediocre, and he will not be able to extend himself according to his skillful training. Fear is largely the cause of failures. It cannot be eliminated either by drugs or by the surgeon's knife. The only remedy known for fear is understanding. Fear is an outgrowth of doubt and worry, and the opposite of doubt and worry is understanding. And doubt and worry lead to fear, where understanding leads to faith. When one understands that the universe is filled with the presence of God, there is nothing to fear. Most of us could meet our obligations if we're not for fear of some kind that tells us differently. We hypnotize ourselves into a belief which incapacitates our power. Fear clouds our vision. It benumbs our faculties. It paralyzes our mental forces, which must be free and active if we are to avert calamity. When a person's mind is confused by fear, that person is in no condition to accept an opportunity. God does not give us the spirit of fear, but of courage and a sound mind.
You know, Bob, it said that half our failures are a result of our pulling up on our horses and checking them as they are about to leap the barrier. Expert riders just let their horse have his head, and this ensures a safe jump. Half our failures, then, are as we pull in at the moment when we should let all our forces out to have the full vent as we make a leap. We jerk ourselves back into failure when we could just as well be riding on to victory if we stay focused on our ideal outcome. I went one time ATV riding with my adult kids, and I didn't really want to go, but they wanted me to go, and we were in Mexico, and these are motorcycles on 4 wheels. And as we drove through the streets of Cabo San Lucas and came to the sand dunes where the kids were going up and down and flying and having fun, and it was squishy there, and I was afraid that I was going to fall over, and I just was sitting there, and my youngest son, Matt, came up to me, rode his ATV up to me and said, "Mom, what are you doing?" And I didn't tell him the truth. I just said, "Well, it's such a beautiful sunset in a little while. I think I'll just sit here and watch the sunset." He leaned over to me and he says, "Don't let fear get in your way." And I went, "Who raised you?" And so I gently and gingerly rode that vehicle down to the flat sand beach, and I went up and down there, and I was doing just fine, but then it was time to leave. And the only way out was up. And so I tried to go up that first sand dune, and I would get about halfway up, and then it would slip, and I would get afraid, and the ATV would go back down to the bottom over and over and over again. I got about halfway up. Finally, the kids are gathered on the bottom, cheering me, trying to get me to go forward, and I fell down and came back down one more time, and my daughter's husband, who is Latino, he was born and raised in Mexico City, he doesn't want to embarrass me in front of all the other kids, but he comes over and he whispers in my ear, and he says, "Mama, you have power you are not using. Take your foot off the brake." And what was happening is I would get halfway up, and without even realizing it, I would start to get afraid. I would just clamp down on the power that was under my authority to take me exactly where I wanted to go. That experience has stayed with me, and there are many times when I have felt, out of fear, the thought of contracting, pulling back, playing it safe, and learning how to navigate that moment with a trust and a faith in a law that is greater than the limit has served me well.
Mama, you have power you're not using. Take your foot off the brake. I'm going to remember that. And you will probably hear it again from me, Mary. You know, if we investigate the lives of successful people, we find a very striking fact. We find a common quality that is responsible for their success, which consists of a constructive state of mind. Psychologists term this constructive state of mind as a success attitude. Simple as it may seem, in most every case, the difference which decides success or failure is the ruling mental state. It is at fault and is the cause of failure. The discovery of this remarkable fact by modern psychology probes to the very root of some deep, practicable problems and indicates a way out of adversity and failure. In short, the positive mental attitude of the person who thinks they can In contrast with the negative attitude of another person who thinks they can't, is practically the only difference between the one who succeeds and the one who fails. The former learns the truth and discovers they can do things, and the idea liberates their sleeping engines, stirs them into activity, thrills them with desire to advance, inspires them to get things done so they move into success. Some persons, however, live in the conviction that as they are, so they must remain. They believe that God had cast them into a fixed mold and that the little ability or power which they possess is all they can hope or wish for in this life. Scientific research into the mysteries of the human mind reveals a wonderful world of power and possibility. The psychological truth is that what is possible to one mind is possible to another, and vastly more than we have ever dreamed. The same human faculties and cultivated powers of the great and successful are possible in every mind. The only difference is in the degree of development, not kind.
So Hollowell then says to us, begin now to take a superior view of yourself, your life, your circumstances, of things and persons in general. As you mentally perceive the better and the greater, you will consciously and unconsciously reach out for the better and the greater. In other words, your thoughts, desires, words, mental actions will gradually become filled with the spirit of progress, and your faculties will grow stronger and your powers will increase. Begin now to take a superior view of yourself, which is the image power that we each have to imagine, to imagineer a life of what we would really seek to experience and be and do and become, to allow ourselves to move into that imagineering capacity, take a superior view of all that is possible and begin to coalesce or hold that view. And then Hollowell says this, catch the spirit of the words I can, and you have the key to the successful attitude. You know, Bob, it was in 1973 that I moved to Phoenix, Arizona to study with Raymond Hollowell and to attend his seminary. And while I was doing that to help earn money to support my family, I taught school in Chandler, Arizona. And my first teaching assignment there was with a group of kids that I was teaching a fourth grade level, but the files I got on the children before I started teaching them, because many of the kids were from different ethnic backgrounds, and those days our testing system hadn't caught up with testing kids in a way that gave them a chance to succeed. So the files all said that the kids were very, very low IQ kids, and the kids had been told that they had low IQs. But what I discovered in a very short time in working with the kids, that kids who believed they had an IQ that was low and that they weren't going to be a success in life, even at 9 years old, were reproducing that in the classroom. And the kids who still had a sense of I can, whatever gave them that, they had it. And I learned in that time, the I can is way more important than the IQ. So catch the spirit of the words I can, and you have the key to the successful attitude. Know you can succeed and proceed to think and live and act in that strong conviction. You may search everywhere, anywhere, to discover the mystic secret of success, only to find that in the end it is all contained in these two little words, I can. Now that I that can is not your history. The I that can is not your personality. The I that can is your source. It is the very essence of who you are that gives rise to life itself as you. Modern psychology has discovered that the person who thinks they can begins easily to develop the power that can. This is a demonstrable law of mind. Persistently think that you, the authentic you, can do what you want to do. And it will not be long before you begin to find yourself actually doing either a form of that thing or actually that thing. There's no miracle about it. The law works this way. The principle involved is that if the I can attitude is adopted, the mind will proceed to direct all energies into those faculties which are employed in doing that which is desired to accomplish and steadily build them up until they become large enough, strong enough, actually, to perform what previously appeared to be impossible.
Raymond Hollywell gives us an excellent example, and he uses a person that certainly had the I can idea embedded deep into his psyche. When Napoleon sought to conquer Italy, he was faced with an apparently insurmountable obstacle, the towering Alps. They were considered by the people who lived around them to be absolutely unscalable. But the words "I can't" were certainly not in Napoleon's mind. He, being determined to conquer, persistently said to himself, "I can." His descent on the other side of the mountain so surprised the people in that country that they were practically conquered without opposition. The shock of his doing what was deemed impossible took away the power of opposition. Thus, his greatest obstacle proved his sure means to victory. And so it is with all difficulties. Obstacles viewed from a higher point of view are invariably stepping stones to success. John Bunyan was thrown into prison, and while imprisoned there, he faced a problem equal to the Alps. He wanted to continue with his religious work. He was not easily defeated. So, on the twisted paper that was brought to him as a cork in a milk jug, he wrote his immortal Pilgrim's Progress. This book alone has reached more people than he could have ever preached to in a whole lifetime.
Wow.
So good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it's true. Obstacles serve as an opportunity to call up our latent powers. They draw us out and make us strong if we use them properly. They can lead us to the goal we actually have in view. Even when we are up against it, when we desire to progress, we can learn to declare to ourselves these words, "I can." And remember, the I is hooked to the I am that is the entire universe. You and I cannot even say I am, except the spirit of life that indwells us gives us the empowerment, the awareness to say I am. What is it that woke you up this morning? It wasn't the alarm clock or the smell of the coffee or the sound of the kids. It was the spirit of life. Because without that indwelling you, the kids could make noise all day, the coffee could do what it does, and all of that can occur, and there's no one home to respond. The spirit of life is in us. I can. And when we remember those simple words, they contain a magic formula to all of what we consider to be success. And no goal worthwhile ever in the history of time has ever been won without the realization of these words, I can. One's state in life is largely determined by one's mental attitude. When we radiate discouragement, gloom, failure, it's because we've accepted somewhere and grown this I can't attitude. And what we find is if you pay attention, you will naturally gravitate away from those who have an I can't attitude and gravitate towards those who have an I can attitude. One is life depleting and one is life giving. And we get to choose. In all circumstance, every circumstance, you are greater than the things or the conditions. Because the spirit of life is greater than any condition, and that's what you are. Whatever you aim at, be certain of one thing, that the power to achieve it and win it is in you. So aim high, aim well, and your mistakes will lessen. And more than that, if you shoot for the stars, you're much more likely to hit the moon. Keep the I can attitude. Affirm it constantly. And I don't know what your star idea is right now, but bring it to mind right now. Bring to mind the idea of what you consider to be a great success for your life. And then begin to generate the feeling, I can. Not by my personality, not by my history, not by my education, not by my bank account, but by the authority of the law of my own being. The I that is the I that I am can, absolutely can.
The next step is to encompass your life or to state your ideal or your objective. Make a mental picture and hold in mind that which you're aspiring to achieve. This is vitally important. Begin with a persistent effort to work toward the final goal. Life, after all, is just like a series of many steps. Each step may provide you with new problems, but as you meet each problem, keep your eye ever fixed upon the top, your objective, your aim, your goal. No matter how crude or how poor your first efforts may be, they are but the beginning. You may now compare yourself with another. Everyone had to commence at some time at the very bottom. In the meantime, know that you cannot fail until you give up. You can never fail if you never give up. Keep on trying. Each effort produces new results. Success, after all, is only the collection of many good results. Never leave till tomorrow that which you can do today, said Benjamin Franklin. The worst enemy you will encounter on life's highway is within your own self. Its name is procrastination. Procrastination kills ambition. It gets one into the habit of indecision, which causes failure. Practice making your decisions clearly and promptly. Take care of the little questions that come to you, and they will automatically take care of their own big questions should they arise. One who cannot decide for himself clearly subordinates his judgment. He becomes receptive to the mass mind around him, and he becomes one of the masses and can attract only what the masses supply, which isn't much.
No, it's not. Many of us will say at times, well, I'm confused. And what I've learned is that I toy in the domain of confusion when I don't want to let myself know what I really do know, because I don't want to have to do what I'd have to do if I let myself know what I really do know. I'm going to say it one more time, because here's the truth. We are all great souls. Great souls are never confused. We have a perfect mind. There's an answer to any question we would bring. Ask and it shall be answered. So if I want to know, the answer's there. But when I say I'm confused, the bottom line is I really don't want to know, because I don't want to have to do what I'd have to do if I let myself know what I really know, which might mean letting go of some part of life that I've hung on to, or take a step when I'm playing more in my fear. Procrastination is the name of that which would keep us stuck and place us outside the realm of the possibility, which is what we're here for, and that's what we're terming as success, which is the ever upward flow of you and me expressing the greatness that's within us. So Hollowell asks us, I think, a really important question. He says, what do you do with your spare time? How do you spend it? Where do you spend it? Do you give it any value? I remember one time the president of Lewis and Clark College in Oregon, I attended his opening address for the incoming group of freshmen. And he welcomed them to the university, and he described many things in its history. And then he said, and ladies and gentlemen, I want to teach you something right now. And he fell silent. And the president of that universe was silent and silent and silent. And it seemed to go on forever. And then he looked at his watch and he said, that, ladies and gentlemen, is 5 minutes. Don't ever think because you only have 5 minutes that you don't have a great commodity in your hands. It struck me with such impact and such an important lesson for me that many times prior to that I thought, I only have 5 minutes, without realizing that 5-minute package was rich with potential and rich with life. So the point is that every one of us are dealers in time, Hollowell says. Our success depends upon the use of our time. Are we wasting it? Are we investing it? And how we use what we might call the little odd moments. What about those odd moments? Real success for some absolutely just started in odd moments. What we do with our spare time not only is clear profit, but it increases our mental capacity. Every minute we save by making it useful and profitable adds to our life and the possibility of a successful one. Every minute wasted is a neglected byproduct, but once it's gone, it can never be returned.
You know, Andrew Carnegie, who was Napoleon Hill's mentor and inspiration, he said that he didn't have any spare time. All his time was accounted for. Hollowell said, think of the quarter hour before breakfast, the half hour after, the time wasted waiting for appointments during the day, and the scores of chances each day when you might read or figure or concentrate or work for your goal. Use all your time constructively. That's exactly what Carnegie did. At one time, he was the richest man in the world. It's only the aimless, worthless, unsuccessful ones who speak of killing time. The one who is killing time is destroying their opportunities, while the person who's succeeding is making their time live and making it useful. I always like to hear a person say that there isn't enough time in the day for them.
Success, then, Hollowell defines this way. He says, summarized success is the way we learn to use two valuable things, our time and our thought. Knowledge alone is not success. It is the way we use that knowledge. It is important always to remember that back of all our toil and struggle, under the dust and smoke of things, there are the arms of the universe, the arms of the infinite, guiding, guarding, supporting us. The law is always at work. Whatever we lack, the universe has. Whatever we seem to lack, Spirit has. Whatever we need, Spirit can supply. Whatever obstacle we encounter, the Spirit of life within us and about us can overcome it. So near to man, wrote Emerson, when duty whispers low, thou must, the youth replies, I can. I can. So Hollowell finishes up his lesson on the law of success this way with a poem entitled, You Can. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out in the world we find, success begins with a person's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you could ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster one, but sooner or late, the person who wins is the one who thinks they can.
These lessons, they're so vital to our growth, and they're very broad. They cover all different aspects of our life. And what we're really talking about is attitudes and concepts that we're incorporating into every cell of our being. And the more we go through these, and I think about it, I've been studying this for many, many years. And over the years, I can find that my level of awareness or my level of understanding of each one of the lessons keeps expanding. Right up until here, this recording, when we're working together on these, I find that my mind is shifting again. And the beautiful truth is that if I kept working on these for another 20 years, my mind is going to keep expanding. So I would like to encourage every person who sees fit to really incorporate these ideas into their life, that they continue to study and they set aside maybe just a brief period of time every day, but try and do it at the same time every day, where the idea of discipline comes back into our life and sacrifices we were talking about. Give up something you were doing and say, I'm going to study this for a half hour a day, but I'm also going to apply it as I go through the day. I like to recommend that before a person starts to study anything, that they study toward a particular end. I think it's good just to study for own enjoyment, but I always think it should be applied. So if we write our goal on a card and place the card in front of us, and then we begin to study, and what we're looking for is an idea that will move us closer to our goal. We're either going to find the ideal in the lesson, or the idea is going to be coming from within because the lesson has inspired us. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with you on this, Mary, and I would encourage anyone that really wants to develop their identity to look into Mary's courses, because they're powerful. And she has programs where she works with people up to a year that make a huge difference in their lives. I've seen the results of your work, and you have every reason to be proud of the work you do.
Thank you, Bob Proctor. It has been both an honor and a privilege to work with you. And I, too, have found as I've worked with these lessons, as we've shared them here, recording them together, the expansion of my own understanding and awareness and commitment, the thrill that I have about the next version of life that I'm being beckoned to. And I wish every person who's listening right now is let yourself just be thrilled at the possibility of you.
This is Bob Proctor.
And Mary Morrissey. Thank you.